Okay, so today I'm going to do a painting on the Northern Lights. So let's try something different. And I'm going to do it on this small little canvas here. Let's move this over so you can see. And I'm going to start with a smaller brush. Most of my brushes are going to be basically today kind of be flats. They're going to be flats. I might have a round brush or a fan brush toward the end. But let's get started for the mountain area. So I'm going to have a bunch of different colors here today. I'm going to have my tea white. I'm going to have my cad red. I'm going to have an ochre. I'm going to have purple. I'm going to have ultramarine blue. I'm going to have my burnt umber. I'm going to have a green. It's kind of like a yellow green. And then I'm going to have my phthalo green. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to do these light washes down here. So I want to take a little bit of my cad red. And as you know, the red is so strong. I'm going to mix it with some white. And I'm just going to do the lightest area. And I want to have this nice transition where I kind of have my pink kind of going into my purple. So again, it's a very light pink, and then I'm going to do one wash. And then you can see when I'm going on top with the second wash, I'm kind of just blending it on top of the first one. And I have some tea white in there. And then I'm going to pick up some more of the white, and I'm going to bring it a little bit further down here, because I think that maybe I'm going to put a mountain here. We just have some light coming down, just so we have a gradation where it goes from light to dark. So you can see this area is a little bit darker, and this area is a little bit lighter. And sometimes if you've seen the Northern Lights, you can see that the colors, they do blend into each other, right? So I'm going to pick up some purple and, again, some of my tea white here. And I'm going to just kind of move this purple, just kind of catching the borders, as you see, of this pink. So it's not all on the pink, it's just kind of catching the borders here, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some more tea white, and I'm going to go over that purple. Okay. Now these two areas are still wet. As you can see, these two areas are still wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dry brush, and I'm going to just blend them where they meet. And I'm blending a little bit of the pink up into the purple, and then the purple up into the pink. And I'm kind of dragging that down very lightly, not really pushing that hard, because I don't want the blending to be 100% perfect. I do want to see, some of these areas that are purple drag down into the pink, but I do want to see a little bit of line, so it's blended, but it's not perfectly blended. And I'll show you what I mean, because when you're looking at the Northern Lights, sometimes you do see the light, the way it falls, doesn't fall super even. We're going to do another layer, but we have this going on. You see how this doesn't blend perfectly here? And sometimes that happens because the sky could be darker. Now I'm going to pick up more of my purple, and I'm going to kind of put it just around this area here, around the light of purple. So I kind of have this darker purple, and you can see I'm just kind of putting it in the lighter areas here. Okay, and what do we do next? Do we leave it like that? No. Right, so we're going to blend it again with our brush. Here we go, our dry brush. I'm going to blend it. And we're just blending those areas very softly. Okay, and if you have too much paint, you can wipe it off on the rag because you don't want to lose the color underneath, but you do want to pull this down. Okay? And then we're going to clean our brush, wipe it off again so it's really pretty dry. And we're just going to pull these layers down. So I'm kind of going up and down at the same time, very lightly with the brush. When I have too much paint, I'm just going to be wiping off my brush again and pulling it. And I want the gradation, and I want it to be like kind of soft. Okay, so here we go. Again, you can see it's not perfect in here, but we kind of don't want that, right? We want some of this dark area coming down here. That does happen during the northern lights, right? Some areas you see darker, some areas are blended in, some areas are not. And we just want to keep doing that until we feel that it works well for you. Now we're going to start here with our greens. And for me, I wanted to use this bright yellow green. It's a really bright color, and it's going to be a nice contrasting color, like if you're looking at the opposite side of the wheel, color wheel. So let's kind of do that. And you can change yours. You can make it a blue-green if you want. I'll show you how we can do that. We can add a little tiny bit, of this kind of phthalo blue where the borders meet here. You can kind of do that. And you can see now, you have a little bit of phthalo green and this bright yellow green, and we're just kind of blending them together. Okay? Just very lightly. And we keep interchanging, I'm going back with the light green and I'm pulling it down. And then I'm going to go with some blue. And I'm going to pick up some blue. And, I don't know where you were when you saw the northern lights, if you were in Europe, or you might have been like in Alaska, or maybe you were in both places, or maybe you didn't see them at all. Maybe you're just painting from your head or a memory, So give your paintbrush that kind of feeling, and if you're painting from a memory, just relax and try to think of the things, how you saw it, where was the light coming from, were there some shadows, what was happening in the sky at that time. Usually with the northern lights, everything is always moving, and it's like, so you kind of have to capture that moment. And you have to think, what colors were in there, Because sometimes people say, oh, I saw the northern lights, and mine was all purple, or mine was all blue. What color was yours? Also depends on where you were, right? And the condition of the sky. So we're just blending these two areas together like this. And what I'm going to do is, so that line isn't so harsh here, I'm going to come back with a little bit of white. And remember, we talked about white and how white, will whiten things, but it also makes things opaque, right? And that's going to work in our favor here because you really want to blend these areas. So I have this white on my brush, and I'm just kind of going up. And sometimes with the northern lights, you will see, right, the little light area coming back. If you don't like the color, the cool thing is you can always go back and you can say, you know what, I want to add some more pink here. I want to make this a little bit more pinker and just blend these areas. And that's quite okay, right? So we're going to bring this up. And I just want to show you how softly I'm just kind of, the sky is not separate from each other. When you see the northern lights too, even when you're looking at clouds, right? You'll see some areas, they blend. Sometimes you'll see the undercoat of a cloud. If you see the sun coming through, you might see all these colors here. And we're going to make this really dramatic, okay? So I could have had these two areas really blend, but I don't want to. I want to make it a little bit more dramatic. And you can see how that white is just blending these two areas and making them a little bit softer. Not much, but little bit where they kind of go together. You see, they kind of go together here. And we want to kind of leave this line because if you do see the northern lights, that does happen, where you have some areas that might be a little bit lighter. And it's not always perfect. Just remember, don't press too hard with the brush. Sweep the brush across. You really have to really think, okay, this is happening in the sky. You can pretend, think that you're there. Some people have really good memories because usually you're there if you're not living near the northern lights, right? It might be a time when you took a vacation or something with one of your friends. Just remember that being a magical time. So let's blend this again. And again, we're just lightly blending these colors. We're not pushing the brush too harsh. And I'm just going back on top. And the reason I'm doing this is I do want to drag some of this pink into these beautiful greens that are above. And then you can see how I'm doing that here. And I just want to soften the edges. So you can go back with the white. If your brush gets too dirty, don't forget to clean it. And just pick up those colors and just bring them down. And now I'm going to bring some of those greens into the pinks. And again, you can be adding white to make those areas more opaque. And it's drastically going to change. And if you don't like what you put down, you can go back over it and change it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's your painting. And you can just make it whatever you want it to say, right? That's the wonderful thing about painting, that there's really no mistakes, right? You can kind of go back and change it. So I have this area really loose with all these colors coming in here and blending. And it's kind of what I want for my painting. I want this to be a little bit more purple here. So I might add, a little bit more here. Just blend it very softly. And again, don't forget that secret of adding that white and just kind of moving your brush around like this. Makes it, very light and opaque. Now, if you know me, I'm the palette knife queen, right? So we could come in here with a half blade and we could do some mountains, okay? Because we have to pump this up and make this a little bit more dramatic. So let's just do that right now. And let's just come in with a little bit of purple, and I'm just using my half blade. What I'm going to do is and I'm not doing it perfectly. You see, I'm leaving these spaces, and that's why it's really good to use a half blade, because look how much paint I have on the edge of my knife. It's not a lot. And when I press, I get all these negative spaces in between, which is going to work in my favor, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add maybe some orange or some pink. So now I'm just kind of putting this line where my mountains are, and you can see I'm using the side of my knife. Works really well, just dragging it, across and just kind of making this. Now, if I wanted to do water, I'll show you something. I have this here. What I could do is I could just drag it across. Isn't that cool? And it doesn't have to be all even, and I get that wonderful negative space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my palette knife, and I'm going to go in with another color, and this is where I really have to think. Let me think. Do I want to bring down some pinks? Maybe I do. So I'm going to put some pink in here with my palette knife. Now the thing is, I'm used to using the half blade, okay? But if you don't feel comfortable with the half blade, you can also get a smaller knife. So, I'm just showing you now, I'm just blending these colors together. See how that works? Okay? But you could use a smaller knife. I'm just using the tip of the knife. And that's why I kind of like the half blade, because it's got all these cool different kind of ways that you can use it. You know, you can use it for lines, you can use it for building texture upon texture. You've got so many different ways. So on this area, because this is going to be darker, I do have to have, you know, some light on my mountain, but at the same time, I think I'm going to make this area a little bit darker, so I'm going to pick up some blue. I'm going to pick up some of that phthalo blue that I had. I'm going to bring it down. I just want to do that because I want to add some more color. I just don't want this whole mountain just to be like all that purple, you know, because it'd be kind of boring, right? And I could have bought orange if I wanted to. I could bring some orange down here, some bright reds. And now I'm using the side of my knife and I'm kind of just scraping that color in here. So I'll show you up close. See that mountain there? It's got a lot of color in that one little spot. And it's up to you. You know, you're thinking about where the light is and what's being reflected. And you're kind of just putting this color down. You don't have to use this color the whole time. You might decide, oh my gosh, I don't want this. I'm going to cover this up. You know, I don't want that pink coming down here. I don't like it. That's cool, right? Because you're the master of your universe that you got going on there, right? You can make it happen. So now what I'm going to do is I could use a fan brush. So everyone knows I like the fan brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of my ultramarine blue and my purple, and I'm going to mix it. I only have it on the edge of the brush, so I have two of the colors going on at the same time. And I'm just going to take that brush and I'm just going to go lightly across the canvas. I'm not going to push very hard. And I'm going to then, so I have this going on. And so I'm using the fan brush like this. Right? And then I'm going to pick up some of that beautiful blue-green that I have going on. Right? Pick up some of that blue-green. And I'm going to bring that blue-green down here. I'm just bringing this blue-green down here in the water. Okay. You can see I got my blue-greens. And then I want to bring down maybe some of these yellows. And I can keep changing the color. I don't have to have that exact color. Right? I could be like, you know what? I decided that I want to change it and make it a little bit more brighter, exciting. Okay, and I really want to play with those lights. And remember, the colors, you know, if you don't wait for them to dry, they are going to blend. But I really like using a fan brush because I have a lot of control going across, you see? And I can bring in those yellows just where I want them to be. Okay, so we got this. Okay. And now I'm going to bring in maybe some more whites, and it's really up to you. You know, you are in control here. Do you want the water to be smooth? Do you want it to be rough? At this point, we're going to let it dry so it doesn't get, you know, so muddy. And as you know, I have my little baby fan brush, and I'm going to go and you could use a liner too. You could use your baby fan brush. And we're just going to really bring this line out. And you know, those of you who know, when I paint, I take up the paint and I kind of roll it, right? So I get a really nice line on the tip of the edge of my brush. And I'm going to go just across and pick up more paint. Sometimes, you know, if you don't have enough paint in your brush, you'll get those lines that looks like, okay, what happened here doesn't look like it's finished. And we're just going to leave it like this. Remember, I'm coming in and I'm not really letting all that color show. I'm covering some of it up. Okay, we're going to be doing that. So that was our underpainting, and then we can go back. Okay, so we're kind of at this step right now. We got these little mountains coming in, and we could put colors of green in there if we wanted to. I'm just building up all these colors down here, pretending this is like a lake or a river. And what I might do is I'm going to start bringing these colors again down here, making them really soft, and into these white areas. I'll show you what you can do, which are little small round brush. You could easily bring some green down there if you wanted to. You don't have to, but I'm going to erase this. I just want to show you what it does. You see how that pops? Like if you had the green here, maybe you're bringing the purple here, and maybe here you had some blue-green, or you could leave that white negative space. In other words, you don't always have to have these spaces, white. You could bring down the color that would be there in the mountain. I personally like the negative space and the white on them. So I'm going to put it back. But, it's your painting. You can not or not do it if you want. Okay? So, we'll go back to that white negative space. Okay. And we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to do the next step. Okay, so this is kind of like our outline again. And then we're going to come back and we're going to put some more bright blues down here because we really want to change that and make it pop. So we are going to use a little bit of ultramarine blue and some white, maybe some purple, just to pop it up. Some green. And we're going to fill in these areas here. We're going to do them as a wash. I like bringing down, a lot of green. And again, some of those different colored blues. And then we're going to stop for now, let it dry, and we'll work on it again. Okay, so this is our kind of northern light kind of idea where, again, we're just bringing down these colors here. You could have had this, if we cut this off, right? You just could have had, like, you see the mountains in the sky. You could have bought this down here and covered this. You can even bring this, yellow if you wanted to up here. It's really up to you. So try thinking about how you're going to blend these colors. And if you get too focused on a color, I just wanted this light area here. I could have pulled this up really light. I'm going to work and pull more green down. I turn your canvas upside down, and work with it like that, okay? Because then you're not focused so much, and you'll be a little bit freer to explore and say, I'm going to put this color, and maybe I wasn't going to do that. But this is just a fast example of how you can get all of those colors in there, you see, with the palette knife, okay? And I would do this on a large canvas, and I would put a lot more color and build it up, and I'll show you how to do that later. Okay, ciao.